All right, thank you. Okay, so we left off. Hi, Abram and Amace. That's what we're up to. Right, so just to preview this daf. So the first daf, the Gemara is going to ask, well, what we've been talking about Abram and Amace. So the question is, does it have meat on it? Does it not have enough, not meat, flesh, I guess, right? That's what we said it was. Flesh that if theoretically it would be connected to the body, would it be able to regenerate and grow? So then we said it doesn't, it will not have tumas oil if it can't regenerate itself, but then what about tumas maga? So we said it's a machlokes of Yochanan and Rish Lakish, whether this thing will have tumas maga or not. Right? So then the Gemara asks, the Gemara for the first Amid is going to ask Akasha, Shaila, well, was there an etzem like, because we know that an etzem kisa'ira, if you have a bone the size of a barley, so then that's matama b'maga. So are we talking about this bone that officially or supposedly has flesh with it? Does it have an etzem kisa'ira? Because if it does, then l'chayra it should be tummy anyways. That takes us for the first half of the Amid of Nun Dalet Amid Aleph, and then the Gemara goes through a previous machlokes that we had a while ago, which was Rachamim, welcome. We're just starting, right? A previous Gemara that we had a while ago, which is when the Nazir has to take off the 7 days, so then he goes back to counting again. Does he count from day 7? Or does he have to count from day 8? Right? Meaning, when does the Nazir has to start over? But does he start from day 7? Because that's the mice when he becomes tar, or day 8 from when he brings the korbanos. Then we have the next Mishnah, which goes through all the types of tumas that the Nazir does not become tummy with, and which one of them is that tumas Eretz Yisrael. And then the Gemara asks about different tumas tumas chutz laret. And the Gemara goes through the tumas chutz laret. So that's basically tonight's daf. Okay, so we're about 10 lines up from the bottom on Nun Gimel on the base. So the Gemara says, Hi Abram and Amace. Yeah, I think it's about 10 lines in. Yeah, 10 lines up. Last word on the line. So the Gemara says, Hi Abram and Amace. Hey Chidam. You have an Abram from a mace. Right? So what's the case? Meaning, what's this case? We're talking about an Abram and a mace, and it doesn't have enough flesh on it that it would be able to grow if it would be connected to the body. If it has a bone on it, again, and so we said that this bone with the flesh on it, so we had a machlokes of Yochanan and Rish Lakish, whether that's tamei maga or not, whether it's tamei for touching or not. So what's the case? If it has a bone on it the size of a barley, my time with the Rabbi Yochanan. Why does Rabbi Yochanan say that it's not, that he doesn't become tummy? Right? It has a bone the size of a barley. Be the less bayatzim kisayra, and if it doesn't have the bone the size of a barley, my time with the Rish Lakish. So why does Rish Lakish say that that he has to bring, that he becomes tummy? It doesn't have a bone the size of a barley. So Rish Lakish now. This rye is going to last us mamash half amid. What's a short amid, but it's going to last half amid. The less bad. So we're talking about where there's no bone on it, the size of a barley. And even so, the Torah is marbit that there's going to be tumah. Why? The Tanya, right now, the first part of this the Gemara doesn't really have to bring it at all as a brisa. It's really the variety from the next brisa, right? But okay, the Gemara decides to go through the whole sugi again. The Tanya says, right? The whole pasuk is right? It says anything that touches in the field by the chalal cherev, which we're going to see what we darshan from that, but means the dead body that comes from a sword, or from a stam, a dead body, or from a bone of a person, or from a grave, is going to become tamei 7 days. Right, so that's a pasuk. So the pasuk, the Gemara is going to dash on every word here. Al pnei asada, sehamal al pnei ames. That's talking about somebody who's walking in a field and he steps over a mace, not a mace. He steps over a grave. So he's tumas oil on top of the grave. So he himself becomes tummy. Bachalal. What is bachalal? Which literally means something bad, right? That's referring to a limb from a live person that has enough flesh on it that if it would be connected to the body, it would be able to grow on its own. So if you touch that, you become tummy. Cherev, hareze kecholol. Cherev is meaning it's like the cholol, like the dead body, meaning a sword that touches the dead body has the same din as a dead body, and it also becomes tamei, which we're going to have to see in the next amud exactly what that means. Oibe mace, right? Or if he touches a mace, that's talking about a limb that came off the mace, again with enough flesh on it to be matama. Oibe etzem adam. And what about, or if he touches the bone of a person, said roiva atzamas? That is the roiva of atzamas. That's a quarter of the bones, like we've been saying, right? Oy bekever, so kever sosum. That's talking about a kever sosum. Oh, so what's a kever sosum? So the Omar Mar, Tuma berkas va'oila berkas v'yoredis. Tuma goes up and Tuma goes down, right? Which is basically the din, and this comes up a lot for the Kehanim amongst us, flying over graves, right? So if there's a space of a tefach, right? When you have a kever sosum, that means a kever that's totally sealed, right? And there's no openings that have an opening of a tefach, meaning it's totally so it's totally sealed, right? So that tumah takes up the entire box that it's in, or grave, right? Memela, anybody that goes anywhere near it, the side of the grave, the top of the grave, is going to come tumah, right?
Does it apply today? We put people in the box.
Does apply.
And as well, they put them in a talus.
Right. So I don't know how it works in Eretz Yisrael, but if it's within a box, it's considered in one.
Yeah, but in a box it disintegrates within a couple of months. No,
I have no idea if it's.
And even today, a lot of places the box has a false bottom.
No, but it's basically based on the top.
But it's more than a tefach. They dropped the nifter in, and then there's more than a tefach there between the ground and the.
Not only Jews die, other people die also.
Is it a body? Is it a 3 tefachim above the body to the box? Is it a 3 tefachim above the body? If you have that 3 tefachim, then it stops.
Well, I mean, we're really going with we're talking with the tefach. The tefach is the main.
Tefach belly button from the toes.
What do you mean? You mean where does the tefach start?
Yeah. The guy's skinny. He needs a smaller box.
I don't know. I don't know how it works.
How does it work on a plane with these comments?
Exactly. This is the sugi of the plane.
I understand.
When you have a mace, in a plane, is that considered like a kever sosum, right?
So they do. Some Kohanim hold like that, right?
Yeah. Yes. Well, there's a big tumult. It's a big tumult. There's a few things. One is the mace.
Really matters what the poskim say, not what the Kohanim say. You know what I mean? Kind of like.
Yeah.
Myron, he's talking about a kind that's a paisik. That's what he's referring to.
I mean, like how we have it this year. I mean, we have
Pesach. Yeah.
I kind of heard the three of you, I think, could be about to dead the Erev Rosh Hashanah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay, listen, I don't, it's a big tumah that's the shaila. Is it considered a constricted tumah on the plane? Right, that's one. Right, and then also if you're flying over a grave, so what it says, tumah b'kas v'olam b'kas v'yaredis, that means that if there's no tefach of space, which the assumption is that there isn't, because it buried in a box. Again, I don't know how it goes with Eretz Yisrael, but even though in Eretz Yisrael they bury with cement, they put cement blocks on top. So I don't know how that works. But if it's in a box, that's considered like it's in its own thing. Mamela the tumah goes straight up, all the way up to the heavens. So a kohen can't fly over it. Right? Okay, whatever. That's only brought agav. See, the top line in the Mephira says, "Nasa kever ki gufa shel meis atzmai, v'mahalach alav al pi she'ein negei ela ma'al tamei." Right? Somebody goes on top of it, even if he doesn't touch it, and it just becomes an oil. It's metama, right? So, yeah. So whatever it is, that's what the last thing is coming to prove. Fine. These are all the different types of ways of becoming tamei from the mace. Then they want to continue. Second line down on the Hamid Aleph, on Dalar Hamid Aleph. Va'ilu gabi negia amar Rav Yehuda. And what about by touching? Right? The Tanya v'chol hanegeh be'etzem be'cholol. Anybody touches a bone or a chol body, right? Be'etzem ze etzem kisa'ira. Be'etzem means if you touch a bone the size of a barley, ay be'cholol. Or that's considered like a piece of the body, but there's not enough meat on it to grow. It had it been connected. That's talking about a piece that came up from a dead body, and it doesn't have enough meat. That's talking about kvarim before dibur, meaning before the Aseret Hadibros, before Matan Torah, Yiddish bodies and Goyish bodies were considered the same. Right? Now we had this in the Yevamis, where we came out that the pashtus is that a Goyish body is not metama ba'oil. Right? But before Matan Torah, meaning even nowadays, most shittas hold nowadays a Goyish body is not metama ba'oil. Koydem Matan Torah, not only was a guy's body not matama b'oil, neither was a yid's. Right? So that's what it means. That's a kever shelifnei adibur. That it's only by touching, but not by oil. Right? So I'm saying that's also you had to for the kahanim amongst us. Really, why kahanim could go into hospitals nowadays? Because the assumption is it's roiv goyim, right? Since it's roiv goyim, so the goyim, most poskim hold that goyim don't have too much oil. We're trying to be machmer, but that's the bottom line. Okay.
Yeah,
So anyway,
is there a shtickle chazaka that there's a dead person in the hospital, in the morgue?
Usually, I think
There's always somebody.
Yeah, but the pashtus is that it's a guy.
Okay.
No.
So what if it's in an area where there's a lot of Yidden? Like it happens to be where I am. None of them are from, but most of these Russians are Jewish.
No, then that would. The question is, are they really Jewish? But if they're Jewish,
don't assume they're Jewish.
What, you talking about Coney Island Hospital?
Yeah, a lot of these non-from people that are Russians at least say they're Jewish.
Well, maybe you gotta get up and do something about it, and go around to all the morgues and ask them, "Are you Jewish? You're not Jewish. We want to be cover you."
If they answer me, that's a big problem. If I'm asking around the morgue,
or if you're hearing it, it's a big problem.
okay. I think not from people have the same din as from people for this. Anyway, so what's the raya here? Again, we're trying ultimately to find out why Rish Lakish is saying that you could become tummy even from without the size of a bone of a barley. So hi Abram and a mace. What's the case here that it's talking about an Abram from a mace? If it has the bone the size of a barley, that's touching the bone, which we already said, right? It must be talking about that it's touching an Avram mace that doesn't have an etzem kisayra. And even so, the Torah is including it. So therefore, it must be talking about a limb that has flesh on it that does not have enough bone to equal the size of a barley. So you see, it's a raya to Rish Lakish that this case you don't need to have the bone the size of a barley. So I'm like Rabbi Yochanan. What's Rabbi Yochanan going to do with this? No, it's talking about a case where it does have a barley. Okay, so then why do you need two words to teach you that a bone the size of a barley is tamei if you touch it? If you don't need it for the touching, then we'll use it for carrying. That even if you don't touch the actual bone, but let's say you have the bone inside on a plate or in a box, well, you're not touching the bone, but you're carrying the bone. So therefore, that's telling you that it's asur. Right?
Yaakov,
Yeah.
what is, excuse me, what does it change? They build the box around the oven on the plane. When you go, they put a
You mean
box
they put that
around
extra
the-
box?
Yeah, what does that do?
Yeah, so so that plastic box, since the plastic can't be.
Are you talking about the wood or the metal?
No, there's the nifter is
There's a
in
metal
an
one that goes
oven.
outside.
The nifter is in an oven. Then they build a box. The frumma undertakers build a box around the oven. You see, I'm saying it's plastic. I've seen cardboard boxes when I've
Well,
been
they
in
do
the
call.
hangar.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe
They-
the
they-
There's
point was-
another one on the outside that's metal. I think that might be an FAA regulation,
okay,
because
but
I've had to help them build the metal one before.
Yeah, so I think the reason for that is because when you put it inside something that's not makabel tuma, so some place can say that constricts the tuma inside that and keeps it constricted within there, and then that would be enough.
There was one
That,
box
again, it's
ran out of these boxes and they had to make more.
the what?
That El Al have the second boxes that they put them in there. Aaron's talking about, and they ran out.
that's-
And that supposedly, like Kenny got involved and had to make it right away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The question is, I mean, there's a lot of issues that they try and figure out. Like some want to say that it's that the whole metal compartment under the plane is constricted, right? But then that's where you also get into is aluminum makabel tuma or not, right? Because some say that aluminum, and that's what planes are made out of, is not makabel tuma. It's a new metal that was not in the Torah. Others say that it is makabel tuma, right? So, and then there's another heter that is carpeting. Someone at time of the carpeting, right, in the top compartment also blocks the tumah. Right? Then there's another one that I actually saw on Shabbos. Rabbi Belsky said a kohen should, if he's gonna go on El Al, should sit in the middle of the plane, not on the edges, because I guess they keep the bodies either in the back of the plane. I don't know how he know. I mean, I had no kash on Rabbi Belsky how he knew this, but right. But he said if you stay in the middle, like going based on our Gemara, I think that if it just stays in the area that it's above it, not in the surrounding area, so then it would be better. I don't know, all sorts of stuff.
I would venture to say Rabbi Belsky went ahead and checked out the planes and checked it out really good, because that's the type of thing he would do. You know, let me go into the plane. I want to see where they're put, how it's put, how the construction of the plane. That would be something that Rabbi Belsky would do.
I think he was a kohen. He was a kohen himself.
No, it's Levi.
He was a Levi. Yeah. But anyways. Yeah. So anyways, so that's a but it's interesting that comes out from our Gemara is that so the Rish Lakish says it's talking about, again, basically if you if you just go through this whole sugya, so all this last half Amud was basically, why do we need 2 psukim to tell you a bone? So Rish Lakish has a pasha de teretz. One is a bone that has less than a barley. Right, and meaning together with the meat, and you don't need the barley. And Rabbi Yochanan is saying no, it does. It's talking about where it has the barley sized bean, not bean. I keep bean, barley sized bone. That's a barley sized bone, right? Okay, so then why does it say 2 psukim about bones? So Rabbi Yochanan says one is talking about to be marba, that even if you carry it, right? So okay, so how does Rish Lakish know that? The Gemara doesn't say, right? L'chara Rish Lakish has to also hold that if you carry a bone, you become tamei, right? Yeah. So fine, but that the Gemara doesn't. That just stops. It stops right there and doesn't take it weiter. Fine. Okay. Then the Gemara continues. Mazeh b'shlishi b'shvi b'soisa, right? And you sprinkle on the 3rd and the 7th, and then it's soiser. Yeah, I mean it's soiser all the days, and he has to start over his nazirus from scratch. So iboilu hadigutani achi yatar b'shvi koi hadavid herav shemesh umani Rebbe Eliezer. When it says until he's tar, that means on the 7th day, right? Because he tivels on the 7th day, and then he has to wait for herav shemesh, right? That who holds that on the 7th day, since he becomes tar, then even though he didn't bring his karbanas, he could start nazir then, right? Or means no, on the 8th day he could go start counting the first of his 30 days of nazirus. And when it says he's until he becomes tar, it doesn't mean actual tar. It means until he brings his karbanos, umani rabbanani, and then it's going to according to rabbanan. Meaning the Mishnah is vague. Right? It says until he becomes tar, then he restarts his nazir. So it's on the 7th day, and that's like Rebbe Eliezer, or is it like the rabbanan who hold that tar means once you bring the karbanos? So Tashema, the Ketani Seifa. What it says in the Sefer, meaning the next Mishnah that we're about to learn, it says since he doesn't become Tameh, he becomes Tameh for 7 days, he doesn't have to restart his Nazirus. So he starts counting right away. Haresha, my Achi Yatar. So what does the Resha mean, Achi Yatar? Right? Achi Yavi Karbanaisav, until he brings his Karbanos. So Mani Rabbanani, it's going to go to Rabbanan, the Amri, Nazirus the Taira, Achmini. The Nazirus of Tahira until the 8th day doesn't start. So from the Sefer, we see that it means that the Mishnah means that the Nazirus, the new counting of Nazirus, doesn't start until day 8. He cannot start on day 7. Okay, fine. Now this next Mishnah starts talking about all the types of Nazirus where he's not going to have to stop the Nazirus, meaning it'll take a pause for a week till he becomes tar, but he's not going to have to start again. So Zok the Mishnah, from the word schach, right, vapirois, and things that stick out of the wall, right? So these things they're rabbanon. That's not the raisa, right? Which we're going to see in the Gemara Vayta exactly why that is. But basically what it is that there's these things sticking out of the walls, and there's a suffix whether there's a mace under them. We don't know which one it is. So therefore, since it's a suffix, so he's not going to have to stop his nazirus. He's going to have to pause it for a week, but that's it. Ubeisa pras. Beisa pras, we had a few times ages ago, which is basically there was a mace in the field, and then the field got plowed. So now we have to be chayshid that these little pieces of bone all over the field. So, but that, again, that's a derabanan. The Eretz Ha'amim and the land that we're all on right now, right? It's all tummy for the Kahanim amongst us. Not good. Yeah. it's tummy. V'hagoylel, v'hadoifik. Goylel is the cover of the coffin, and a doifik are the walls. Urevius dam and a revius of dam, right? Because we said a revius dam makes tumah. V'oil, v'roivat samas, and an oil on top of a quarter of a kav of bones, right? That's what we've been talking about. Meaning you have a quarter of a kav of bones, so that makes tumah. The kalim hanoigim a mace, and any keli that touches a mace, yeah, uvi may, meaning the kli that touches the mace becomes tamei, right? Uvi may sifroi, uvi may gamroi, and during the days of Sfira and the days of Gemira, that's basically what that is when somebody has tsaras, so he goes to the kohen, right? And the kohen has to lock him up. I'm going to switch devices because this one's about to die. So, well, it's not working. But anyways, May Sifrei is the days that he has to count, waiting for the kohen to decide whether he has tsaras or not. And Yemei Gamroi is the days that meaning the kohen decides, oh, he has tsaras, now he has to wait. Right now he has to wait. That's the 7 days.
When you said Revius Adam, that's Revius Adam.
All right, go ahead, yeah.
Revius Adam is Revius Adam mean a mace.
Yeah.
It's not that I was building Dor Yesharim. You open up the refrigerator and it's 20 gallons of milk. What the? Because you add up all the test tubes of dam that they have. There's like tons and tons of it. They have tons of refrigerators. And I said,
it's great to have such a great security system. That's very good.
That was all dam mean a chai. So this is not metamin. So here's dam mean a maze.
Fight we had last week of whether bodies combine or not. Right, Rebbe Kiva held that bodies combine. This is Zev's kasha.
Yeah, but that's all bodies of dead people. So dam, this is all dam. This dam we're talking is dam reveals dam in a mason.
Right. Yeah, it's not reveals achai. Correct. Right. Okay. You better hope not, Rachamim. Yes, but even then, sure, because doesn't the reveals have to be connected in order for it to be, even according to Rebbe Kiva, who holds that you combine them, doesn't it have to be together? If they're in separate vials, they would combine? No.
I mean, well, it wasn't connected, that's for sure. But
yeah, I would think it's vials.
But they're all from Achai. They're all from live people.
They're all from. You hope so. You hope.
Yeah, that the whole business is for taking down from live people, not dead people.
Yeah, they're trying.
Rabbi Eckstein liked the question.
Okay, very good. Okay, we may sifra, we may gamra. So that's what you may sfira and you may gamra. Al elu eina nazir megaleach. On all of these, the nazir does not have to shave his head. Right? Yeah, umaze b'shlishi v'shvi, but meaning he is tamei. Right? He's tamei, and he needs to be sprinkled on the 3rd day and the 7th day, because he's at least at the minimum he's a suffix tuma, right? And but he does not have to put on Talmud Beis now. Ve'enoi soiser es hakoidmin, and he's not soiser the first days, right? Because meaning because of the suffix of the tumas, Mamela, he puts it on pause, right? That's Tosis points out. Meaning, let's just to make for clarity's sake, he becomes a nazir. 10 days later, he becomes tamei with either of these cases that the Mishnah just said. So now his naziris goes on pause, right? So from day 10 to day 17 does not count. But then he starts again, but he doesn't start from day 1 like the previous Mishnah. In this Mishnah, he's not starting from day 1. He starts from day 11, right?
I'm just trying to...
Meaning he starts day 11 on day 18. He had to pause it for a week. That's what it's saying.
All these tumas are what kind of they're abundant. What are they?
Yeah.
They're
Stuff-
abundant tumas.
Suffolk tumas, right?
So if it's a svek on these things, it could be matter.
I don't know because I don't. Maybe.
A kohen doesn't have to worry about his dam. Doesn't have
It's
to
different.
worry.
It's going to be Tully in Suffolk, because Suffolk Tuma in Rosh Hashanah we're machmir on, and Suffolk Tuma in Rosh Hashanah we're makel on. We're going to see that in tomorrow's daf and the next day's daf, Bez Hashem, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, but all these cases, ain't his Seiser as a kohen. He's not Seiser the early days. And he could start counting immediately. Meaning once he becomes tar, he counts immediately, which we had just said in the previous Gemara right before the Mishnah, which means on day 8, right? For carbon ein loy, and he does not have to bring karbonos. Meaning this, he has to bring karbonos if he's a nazir. I'm sorry, if he's a Matzaira or whatever it is, but als Nazirus becoming Tameh, he does not have. That's just what we've been saying, that anytime it says you don't need haircuts, means that he doesn't have to bring the special karbonos that a Nazir that becomes Tameh Meis has to bring. Then the Gemara says, Be'emes Amru, right? The truth is, which means, again, that's another code for Allah al-Moshe Messinai. That's the Mefarish points that out, that Yimei Hazav, Yimei Haskerish or Mitzayra, if he becomes a Zav or she's a Nazir, a Nazira, and she becomes a Zava, the Yimei Haskerish or Mitzayra, and the days that the Mitzayra is locked up, meaning that's when he's locked up waiting to see if the Tzaras grows or not, Hare Elu Oilenloi, those days even count towards the Nazirus, right? So meaning the first part of the Mishnah is saying, it's somewhere in the middle. Let's just again. The previous Mishnah, 2-3 blot ago, is saying that the Nazir has to start again. That's major Tumah. He has to start his whole Nazirus again. The first part of this Mishnah right here is saying it's somewhere in the middle. He becomes Tameh, but he does not have to start again. He just puts it on pause for those 7 days or whatever amount of days it becomes Tar. And the last thing for Zav, Zava, and Yemei Askerisha Mitzayra, those days even count towards his Nazirus, even though he's Tameh. Right? Fine. So those are the 3 different levels. So the Gemara now goes through the different tumas. Because the first thing we said was Eloin Aschachas. What does it mean, schachas? Tuma under the schach. So it's Elon Amesach ala Aretz. That's referring to a tree that goes over the land, right? And this is very nagei again to Kehanim. The Kehanim are getting good coverage tonight, right? Meaning you have a tree that's in a cemetery, or a tree outside of a cemetery. Can a part of the tree is covering over the graves, and part of the tree is in the street, right? And some of the cemeteries in Borough Park, right? Do they have a cemetery on 20th and in Flatbush, right? So Kehanim are walking over there. They have a whole society that tells you these things. So now you don't know if you don't have any idea if the branches are over a mace, not over a mace, right? So and now, by the way, what you need at the minimum, is you need a tefach. You need the branches to be a tefach thick in order for it to carry the tum of the oil. Now, tefach thick is a pretty thick branch, I think, right? Yeah, it's saying a tefach 4 inches
Need
thick.
the branches or the knife? I mean,
No, I
including the leaves. No?
Does it include the leaves? I'm not sure. Does it include the leaves?
Well, there's a good chance it's machlekes Paiskim. Yeah, like everything else.
No, but the thing is like this. So if one branch is over the mace, but then the other branch has more space than that. So basically you have to go and you have to start, I don't even know what type of device you have to take to figure out where the branches are growing, where they're not growing. Then the question is if they're all within tvachim of each other, whatever, these are all part of the cheshbonos that a kohen has to make when he goes under the tree. Because Kahanim just think, oh, there's a tree there, you can't go under the tree. It's not true. In a lot of scenarios, you could go under the tree because of this Gemara, what he's saying, right? Depending on how big the space is in between the branches, right? So the bottom line is, if a Nazir went under there, so he's going to have to become Tameh. We're going to have to look at him like he's Tameh, but he's not going to have to start over his whole thing because it's a Safek Rabbanon, right? Savik Durabanan, we're makel with Tuma. Right? I think I said before, the Durabanan in Rosh Hashanah, we're machmer. No.
Wow, you froze up.
Pieces of wall, these little pieces of wall.
See, I'll give you froze for a few seconds there.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I know I froze because when I unfreeze my phone, the messages come through all at once.
I thought it was a tumor from the branches.
Yaakov,
It could be.
I just posted a bunch of pictures.
All right, there you go. Okay, thank you.
Kayanim may have good coverage, but apparently you don't.
No, very good, very good. So anyway, so that these things that are sticking out of the walls, so but it's a similar situation, and we're not sure whether there's a mace under there. Fine. Eretz or Amim. Then we said that if a Nazir goes out of Eretz Yisrael, so it becomes Tameh. So he becomes Tameh, but he doesn't have to start his Nazirus again. So they had a Shaila. Eretz Amim Mishum Avira Gazer Aleh. Were they geyser on Eretz Amim because of being in the air? Meaning, it's not a real Tumah. I don't want to say it's a spiritual Tumah, but that's what it sounds like. Meaning they decided that going to Chutz La'aretz is Tameh, and that's it. There's no real Tumah there, but they decided you're going to be Tameh. You go there because to discourage people from going to Chutz La'aretz. Or maybe no, they were geyser because of the ground, meaning we have no idea. People just goyim just bury wherever they want, not necessarily in a cemetery. So how can you go to Chutz La'aretz? How could a kohen go to Chutz La'aretz? He may be stepping on kvarim wherever it is. So that's the shaila. Meaning again, is it that they just decided that the air of Chutz La'aretz is matama, which is more of like a philosophical, spiritual tumah, or were they taka worried of boots on the ground, no pun intended, right? That it's the ground is tummy because we have no idea if there's kvarim there or not, right? So Toshima, umaze b'shlishi v'shvi. The Mishnah says you sprinkle on him the third and the seventh day. So and if you're just saying that they made a tumah because of the avir of Chutz La'aretz, hazah lamali, what do you need hazah for that? Right? It can't be you need hazah for that. Elalav b'shum kusha must be the reason why you have to sprinkle the third and the seventh is because we're assuming that the ground in Chutz La'aretz is tummy. So Gemara says no. Really, it's because of avira v'chikatani ashar. When it says the third and the seventh, that's going on the other cases the Mishnah brings. Right? I froze again. Right? No, I didn't.
No, you're good.
Okay, so again, we're saying that the two are not connected. When it says that the tumah is the third and seventh day, that's going on the other cases, right? But if it's not going on the other cases need 3 and 7, but the tumah of the Chutz La'aretz does not need 3 and 7. We said that if the Nazir touches utensils that touch the mace, hani kelim b'nei hazah, are these kelim b'nei hazah? Right? Meaning, a kohen touches a utensil that touches a mace. Does that now make the kohen tameh? That does not make the kohen tameh. Right? So therefore, it must be that there's a tumah, but it's not going to require the 3 and the 7.
Why not?
Right?
It's a rishon with tumah, no?
No, the utensil, it's the kalim can't make a person tameh. Right? Meaning a utensil that touches a mace, how does it go? Is tameh, right? That's
right. But it doesn't make some food and drink would make someone tameh.
What?
Food and drink would make someone tameh, I think. Right?
Yes, not someone.
Kalim doesn't.
But these are all gezeras. But according to Iker Tumah, a utensil that touches a mace becomes tameh. A person who touches that utensil also becomes tameh just for a day. Right? It doesn't need 3 and 7. Right?
What a kohen does is a lot of touches.
He's certainly, even if I don't know if he's allowed to, he's not allowed to, but he's not going to require 3rd and the 7th. the 3 and the 7. That's for sure. He's not going to be like a, what do you call it?
What do you mean the 3 and the
saying-
7?
Meaning it's not Tumas mace.
What is
It's
it?
a Tumah, but it's not Tumas mace.
Oh.
I understand. Do we ever say that a Kohen can't touch a hearse? Is there an
No.
issue for a Kohen to touch a hearse? Not when the mace is in it, obviously. Or even when the mace is in it. Right? So l'chayr or not.
I used to own a hearse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so it must be when it says that you have to be sprinkled in the Mishnah, when it says that you have to sprinkle on the 3rd and the 7th on the Nazir, it's not referring to the case of the Tumah of Eretz Yisrael, and it's not referring to the case of the Tumah of the touching the sword. Right? Okay, stop here. Mama's right at the end of the. Yeah.
Today's Wall Street Journal in the obituaries had this man from Texas. He had the biggest funeral home business in America. He owned his company, was a public company, SCI. They owned 1,500 funeral homes and 500 cemeteries. So
he owned how much?
1,500 funeral homes and 500 cemeteries.
See, it's a good business.
That's right. That's what,
Nowadays,
that's what he
most
said. He
funeral
said, I don't
homes are all
understand. Don't
chains.
people want to make money? Everybody dies. So why doesn't people invest in my company? He says it's guaranteed, you know?
Everybody's dying to get in. Okay.
Yeah.
Dying to get it. Oops.
All right, listen, I guess